Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Bradford City end of season review. I'm delighted today to be joined by Corbin Rayner, or I'm sure most of you will know him as Rayner's Bantams, but we are back today to discuss Bradford City's 2025-26 season. If you do go on to enjoy, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. 200 likes on today's video would be massively appreciated. Apart from that, let's get back to the beginning of the season, which you might have to cast your mind back a little bit, but having got promoted from League 2 last season in the dramatic fashion that we did, what were your initial pre-season expectations coming into this season?
Just to stay up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Not more.
I'd have snapped your hand off a fifth bottom, to be honest.
Oh, definitely. And even if we were in a relegation scrap all season, I would have wanted to have stuck with Alexander. I think I even said that at pre-season. So to have achieved what we did goes to show how much of an achievement it was.
I think it was even finishing in the top half would have been like a big overachievement. Never mind challenging for automatics up until January. We'll obviously come on to that January window later on in today's video. So moving on then through the summer, we made a fair few signings. How did you assess kind of our summer business, the ins, the outs? Did that change your expectations at all?
When they came in?
Yeah.
Well, I'm impressed with the experience that we brought in. And the proven League One quality. You know, when you look at like Max Power and Curtis Tilt and Humphries that were coming into the building. But I just felt like that was just good recruitment to stay up. I never felt like it were good recruitment where you could see, oh yeah, we're good enough to get a playoff push here. So yeah, you know, I'm impressed with that. And then we did bring in a few good youngsters as well with Metcalf, and that meant that we had a good balance to the squad, which we do get quite right with when Sharps come in particular. We do have a good balance with age. We don't tend to go too old or too young.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think we made some good signings. I think you look at the summer business and bringing in somebody like Ibu Toure and the things that he'd achieved with Stockport and Salford over the last couple of years, that for me was the real standout. I know a lot of people probably look at Stephen Humphries maybe, and his season didn't quite end how I think a lot of Bradford fans were hoping, especially given the money that he's probably on all that sort of stuff. But I was certainly impressed with a lot of our business. There was obviously a few that were up in the air potentially, but after August had finished, we were third in League 1, 4 wins, 2 draws in the league. We'd beaten Blackburn and Stoke in the Cup. Could you have asked for a much better start, really?
No, apart from not conceding Sull at Peterborough.
Yeah.
That would have been a better start, but at that point I did feel like players could have been on because of the performances that we were having, the wins that we had with winning away at Stockport. That was a massive statement so early on. To go under the cosh there for the first half, getting absolutely outplayed, and then in the second half to turn it around and be the dominant side, that made me feel like we could really put a push on. And then with the cup wins as well, that helped. So the momentum just carried on from last season at that point, and yeah, you couldn't have asked for a better start.
See, you know that word momentum, and I've seen a lot of general football fans, and maybe weren't necessarily Bradford fans, talking about the momentum from last season. Obviously, it ended in the best way possible, but towards the back end of the last campaign, we had no momentum whatsoever. If we'd have fallen in the playoffs, I don't think we'd have got up, because there were a lot of last-minute goals and throwing away leads and the crazy game at Swindon. So I don't think it was a case of the momentum that we came up with. And you look at the big turnover, you look at the team that started on the final day against Fleetwood to the one that started even on the first day against Wickham. It was a much changed side, which I think Alexander deserves credit for, to build such a tight-knit group in such a short space of time. I think, look, there's a lot of things that Alexander deserves credit for, but I think that togetherness that he builds is so integral and brilliant.
Yeah, and that starts with the pre-seasons, doesn't it, in Austria, and building that togetherness, like you say. But yeah, I mean, with the momentum, I think it more comes from with the fans, you know, feeding off from the North Parade before the game to going into the game, and then afterwards as well with all the players around them. But like I say, it was a massively changed side with a few core players that stayed, went in January, and you know, whatever you want to go with then. I've got no else to add.
Let's move on then to the beginning of October. So moving forward a little bit here, Bradford City top of the League One table. We battered Huddersfield at home, went away to Cardiff, and were the first team to, I think, take any points off them, and first team to score against them in open play all season as well. by the beginning of October, did you think it was sustainable? Do you think we were going to stay top of the league for the rest of the season? I mean, we all know that we didn't end up doing that, but by that point, I don't think it could be just considered a good start, because we were into the third, fourth month of the season now, and we're top of League One.
Yeah, and the home form continued, didn't it? And that Cardiff game were the best away game of the season, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, the performance that we had, like you say, scoring the first goal against them, we blew them away. And that were when you've got like your players like Nerfel, who were on form, who were tearing defences apart with his pace, getting to bylines, and we were unpredictable compared to how it ended up going. And when you top the league in October, obviously you hope and believe that it can sustain itself. And I had full optimism that it could. I never felt like we were going to have a massive fall down at that point.
I felt like at that point, if anybody was going to overtake us, it was going to be Cardiff. And I never felt like Lincoln were going to go on the run that they ended up going on, and they're still technically on that unbeaten run. I think to finish the season 29 games unbeaten. But by December 31st then, so again we skip forward a little bit here, we've dropped down to third in League One. But third in League One by December 31st is still a pretty good place to be. Only 3 league defeats all season. We were 2 points off second with a game in hand. What do you think we needed to do in January? Because January was massive in our season. What did you think that we needed to do going into it?
Well, we needed a goal scorer, didn't we? Because we were still struggling for goals then. That was when Andy Cook were just coming back into the side, but only playing a bit part role as a sub on it. And Will Swan just came out of the side as well, having had a good start. And we were just looking for that natural goal scorer we didn't have. Relying on Sarsfield and Point, and we definitely needed another 10 to compete with them. And I think another midfielder, didn't we? We needed to put competition for Power and Metcalf. And obviously it didn't quite work out, did it?
Well, I think going into the window, we actually didn't need to do loads, because we were riding that wave of momentum, I guess you could say, from the beginning of the season and how good that was. But ultimately, we just got January very wrong, didn't we?
Yeah, but like I say, from that October to that December point, whilst we were still third, there was still a lot of worrying signs with performances at that point from that October period, because it was sort of Lincoln onwards, wasn't it? We went on a bad sort of winless run.
A lot of draws in there though, which is something we massively struggled with in the second half of the season. We didn't draw enough games in the second half, I don't think.
Yeah, and some of them were good points, like drawing to Lincoln and Bolton. But then, losing to Burton were a disappointing one, and a couple of away performances that weren't good enough. And I think when we just beat Wigan when they had two sending offs.
That were on Boxing Day, that one, yeah.
Yeah, so we were just scraping by when we were getting wins then, and I did feel like we needed a big window to sustain it, and we didn't get it right.
Well, moving on then into January, a very season-defining month, both in terms of transfers and what that meant for the remainder of the season, and also the teams that we played. I think in a row we had Cardiff, Huddersfield and Lincoln. Obviously Cardiff and Lincoln finishing in the top 2. Huddersfield at the time were challenging to try and get above us in those playoffs. Obviously they went down to their mid-table woes, and they were terrible this season. But you look at the January business, and we did quite a lot of outs early doors. The likes of Andy Cook, obviously club legend, Brad Halliday, very well respected player, Alex Patterson played a big part in our promotion as well, just to name a few who did move on. And we did some early business. We brought in Louis Sibley and Joe White, who I think don't even started 5 games between them both. Throughout their time at Bradford City, Harrison Ashby also came in with a lot of championship pedigree. And then you go towards the end of the month, where we've been defeated to Cardiff, been battered by Lincoln. We're really, really poor against Huddersfield Town. But again, it comes down to a lack of options. After was the Lincoln game, I'm pretty sure, we then brought in 3 or 4 players on deadline day. You look at Ethan Wheatley, Paul Mullin, I think Caden Jackson also came in as well, Lee Evans. So I'm pretty sure we made 7 signings in January, 6 of them not included in the matchday squad against Bolton in the second leg. How do you look back on January, and did that kind of go as you expected it to go?
It was massively disappointing, wasn't it? Like I say, all the players that didn't play a part, there were only Caden Jackson who played a big part, particularly at the end with a goal against Bolton, Exeter, and should have done better over the 2 legs with chances that he had. He was the only player you can look at and go, yeah, he was a decent signing for us who contributed. None of them contributed. And I'm not one to really look at the outgoings and say, they made a massive difference. I don't know if you are, but I don't feel like they were playing much of a part anyway in terms of the actual on-field performances, because Patterson wanted the team for a while. He had an injury. Brad Halliday was just second choice to Nerfel, who actually had a good run, didn't he, in December, where he played a bit of an important role, to be fair to him, which were credit to his character. And again, Andy Cook, did he start more than 2 games?
He didn't start a single league game for us.
He didn't. So, there were big characters, whether that played an impact or not, but I don't think they had a massive impact on the pitch. It was just how much of a lack of ability we replaced them with really cost us, for me.
See, I look at the January business, and obviously I was a massive fan of Andy Cook, Alex Patterson, Brad Halliday, but I didn't feel like them moving on was necessarily the wrong decision. I think it was how we went about replacing them, or in some cases not replacing them at all. You get rid of Andy Cook, who is obviously an absolute legend at Bradford City, but like I just mentioned, they'd not started a single league game, wasn't included in the matchday squad for quite a while. It was clear that he was out of Graham Alexander's plans, and you'd probably think Cook's one of our bigger earners, so it did make sense to try and get those wages off the wage bill, but then you replace him with a Paul Mullin, who really struggled at Wigan and wasn't getting any game time there. They were in the relegation zone. Ethan Wheatley, who had only scored a couple for Northampton, but maybe you could argue he's more of a replacement for Callum Kavanagh. I look at Brad Halliday moving on, and again I think Brad Halliday was almost the perfect professional that you could ask for, really. Even when he was out of the side, he still looked like he was always grafting, and obviously, like you say, he got back into the team in December, and I think Nerfel was rightfully dropped probably at that point. Alex Patterson, we didn't replace him, and that was the fact. As much as Patterson had his odd injury problems, he was a different type of profile that I thought we missed in the second half of the season. That high press energy, and yes, he did have his injuries, but I feel like this season he didn't really have many muscle injuries. It seemed to be a lot of concussions and stuff like that, which was disappointing, but we didn't replace him whatsoever. We let Tommy Lee leave as well, and we brought in Lee Evans. I don't think that was really much of a replacement, and obviously Ashby came in for Halliday, so that was the big thing for me. I don't think letting go of those type of players was necessarily the wrong thing to do, but it was more of the players who they got replaced by that I think it just got massively wrong. And David Sharp's done very well in the summer transfer windows, but you look at some of his January business, you think giving 2.5-year deals to Tommy Lee, who obviously went out on loan, George Lapsley, who's barely kicked a ball all season apart from towards the end of the campaign, and then obviously the January window that we had, it was appalling. If we're being completely brutal, we were in real possibility of going back-to-back automatic promotions, and we got it so wrong that by the end of the season I think we finished 14 points off a second, and Cardiff, they had a little bit of a stumble as well. So reflecting on those defeats as well against Cardiff, Huddersfield and Lincoln, we dropped down to 5th in the table. How do you think we fared in those games, and do you think that was because we got rid of some players and without replacing them, so we're having to rely on the likes of Callum Kavanagh and Tommy Lee to be playing quite a significant role in those type of matches? Obviously, in the end, left the football club.
And Kieran Kelly.
Yeah.
Let's not forget about the humiliation at Mansfield.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. I mean, that was in January. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was one of the worst performances I've seen.
But he rotated the team so much for that game. I think the front three were Kavanagh, Humphreys, and Tyreek Wright.
The back three were Neil Byrne and Kieran Kelly.
And Joe Wright were in there as well. I mean,
the slowest back three you'll ever see.
The Neil Byrne thing in that game, that was, I don't know if you remember, but the fans, anytime the ball were going near Neil Byrne, they were sarcastically cheering him and all that sort of stuff. And as much as I didn't think Neil Byrne was good enough to play for us, especially in League One, I think, especially where we were in the table, I didn't really understand how he was treated, to be honest with you.
Well, you felt sorry for him, didn't you?
Yeah, it was like, the first couple of times a little bit funny, but it was going on for a very long time, half an hour, maybe more.
But to be fair, he shouldn't have been put in that position.
No, he shouldn't. Like, Neil Byrne is not a League One footballer, especially not a top end when you're challenging for automatic promotion. And Mansfield are a good side. We've struggled against them quite a bit over the years, especially since Nigel Clough's been in there, but that performance, and Alexander, he's done that a couple of times, even last season as well, where in those type of away games he just seems to make loads of changes. Wimbledon away was another one, for example, and we just look all over the place. And
in January, like you've already said, putting Joe Wright in against Huddersfield for his debut away from home, it's absolutely mind-boggling. Some of the team selections cost us, particularly away from home, from Alexander. Whilst I don't want to criticise him too much, that's a criticism that I can only level at him, and that would definitely have a part to play in January for me. The selections considering that you did have fit enough players who could have took their places or adapted as well. To play back three of Kieran Kelly, Neil Byrne and Joe Wright, everyone knows that's going to be a disaster when Mansfield have some quick forwards, in behind, because that's how they scored all their goals, from them switching off or not being quick enough in general. But that January definitely cost us what could have been a good push at top two. When you look at how the other teams improved in January as well, you look at Bolton, look at Stockport, Cardiff and Lincoln, they all improved more than us. I'd say we slightly regressed from January.
I think we massively regressed. And it wasn't even necessarily the players who left, like I say, it was the players that we brought in. They were so much worse. And you look at the amount of starts that probably all of them had, especially towards like the last month of the season, how many of them actually started games? You think Ashby away at Wickham, where he was pretty poor in the first half. Second half, I know he did quite well, but apart from that, did any of them start? Obviously, we're not including Caden Jackson here because he was a good signing and obviously he was a permanent, but the rest of them, Lee Evans came in on a permanent deal to play the 2 games where Max Power was suspended. I think he got another start away at Wickham where he was subbed off at half time. You look at that and I know he came in to do a job and he did that okay in those games, but surely it would have been better to get to do something else than that, to provide some real competition for Max Power and Jensen Metcalf, because in the second half of the season it was always going to be Power and Metcalf, and when Metcalf had his peak probably in mid-February sort of time, and he was probably the best midfielder in the division at that point, but we did see towards the back end of the season, as you would expect with a young player, that he had a little bit of a dip in form, and we just didn't have a replacement for him. And if you think we'd have had a Tommy Lee who did start out the season very well, and I know he was out of the team a little bit, or an Alex Patterson, it's just better to have a different type of profile in there.
Yeah, because Evans was also too similar to Power, wasn't he?
Yeah.
You weren't going to play Evans, Power and Metcalf, whereas if you had a Patterson, you could play Power, Metcalf and Patterson as a free, particularly in some away games when you're going to be up against it a bit and you need a bit more energy in there. I think that was something we definitely lacked, a lack of options to adapt, because we did become too rigid in the end.
Moving on then away from January, by March the 1st we were back up to 4th position, but we were now 13 points off of second place, bearing in mind we were 2 points off a second with a game in hand going into January, but with 12 games to go we were 7 points inside the playoffs, but our away form had really taken a massive hit by this point. Did you think that we were going to bottle it at any point and completely fall out of the playoffs?
There was a stage when I thought we were going to, and I can't remember when it was.
But there was a stage, and that's the point, isn't it? Because you look at some of the away games, and it seemed like we were getting the odd win here or there, which we beat bottom of the table Port Vale, which I think were just after March the 1st. But you look at the away games where it just seemed to be any time we play away from home, we'd lose. We had the Reading incident as well, where we conceded 2 in injury time and ended up throwing that game away, even though it looked like that were going to be a comfortable win. We got battered by Wimbledon, where he made loads of changes, where Kelly, Sibley, Mullin, I'm pretty sure, all started in that one. So yeah, did you really feel like we were going to fall out? Maybe not necessarily around March 1st sort of time, but at any point did you think we were going to fall out?
No, I just remembered it well then. After
Bang on March 1st?
Yeah. That time at about 10 o'clock in the morning, after I had my breakfast, that's when I thought we were going to drop out, just when I was having a cup of tea, and I was getting very stressed. And I thought, we're in trouble here. But we did turn it around a bit. It was then, at that point, because I thought, how can you go from where we were to then going on a bit of a slump where it just seemed quite quickly regressing, because we had that January slump, but it never really particularly picked up, did it, in February, like say with Wimbledon and then the Reading heartbreak at the end, which felt a bit like the Swindon one in the season before. I think that was just because it's right next door to Swindon, to be fair. But conceding so late on twice, you also had Sam Walker at that point, who were making blunders after blunder, which started at Wimbledon really and carried on to Burton. And you just thought, well, the goalkeeper's been poor and his confidence has gone. We were struggling with being able to play out or whether to go direct, because we can't play out and we can't play direct because we haven't got a striker who can hold the ball up. So we were getting lost in that, particularly away from home. Nerfa were looking leggy at the time and his performances dropped, and we didn't have any natural goal scorers, and I'm not sure if Sarcevic or Point had an injury around that point, but even if they didn't, they weren't on form, and you just thought, well, where the goals going to come from? And we were leaking goals at away games consistently, and you did worry about us a bit.
I know that we ended the away table in 8th position, and obviously nobody expects to be as strong away from home as what you are at home, especially with how good that we were at home and have been at home, especially under Graham Alexander. But you look at our away form over the last 2 years, I think it was 5 league away wins last season, 6 league away wins this season, which is not awful, but we don't draw enough away from home for me, and I think that's the problem, because it's picking up the odd point here or there, that really does add up. And you look at the amount of games where it just felt away from home we were almost waiting to concede before then we'd go out and try and really get at them, and it feels like that we never really had that same plan to play away from home how we do at home. And I know sometimes you have to respect the opposition, but I felt like we wouldn't respect the opposition in certain ways, like going away to Burton, for example, when you're playing on a really small tight pitch and still trying to do our diagonals. It's never really going to work, and that was obviously a very frustrating game because we couldn't break Burton down, because it seemed to be like we were very one-dimensional and we don't have a second way to play. It's all well and good trying to play those diags from Baldwin out to the wing-backs, but that only really works if, for one, Tyreek Wright and Josh Nerfel are both playing because they've got the pace, and two, you're playing on a big pitch, so they've got to do that. These are League One footballers. They're not going to have the touch of a Premier League player to be able to beat a man on such a tight, narrow pitch. And I do think that is one slight criticism that I do have of Alexander, is that we only really seem to have one way of playing.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know how well or how bad we played against Burton because I was actually working that day, which happened quite a bit at that point in the season. But yeah, so that what you say with the one-dimensional play with the diagonals, that become too obvious to teams. And like I say, Toure ain't going to beat a man, so it just comes down to nerf all the time. And I think away from home, something we did too often, we recycle the ball. We'd start off putting them under a bit, and we'd have the centre-backs pushed up like we do, and the wing-backs high, and then it'll go to probably Toure, and he'd end up finding the ball back to Power, and then he'd go back to tilt, and it'd be recycled to the right, and then we wouldn't take the man on, and it just kept going back and forth. And we never had that going as like we do at home, where we want to take players and want to get crosses in, and it's more action-based, whereas away from home, I think we were too safe too often.
Because our game is largely built on getting the ball out wide and getting crosses into the box, does it not seem a little bit bizarre that we didn't bring in a striker in January who's very good at heading the ball? Yeah. Or we didn't use Andy Cook? Because our whole game is built around getting crosses into the box, and you think Will Swan, heading the ball's not his game. Stephen Humphreys, I don't think I've ever seen him head a ball apart from his goal against Northampton. Ethan Wheatley, 6'3", jumps and goes to about 4'8".
Like Oliver.
Paul Mullin, I don't think I've ever seen win him. He just commits fouls all the time.
Yeah.
Caden Jackson tries, but that's not really his game. He's more of a...
Sort of just falls over, doesn't he?
Yeah, get in your face. But when he's got Farino and Toll up his backside, you don't really stand much chance. So to think about how much our game relies on crossing into the box, not signing a man who's good at heading the ball, which seems pretty simple, but that does sound very bizarre that we didn't do that.
Yeah, and when you had one of the best headers of the ball in the EFL sat on your bench. This Andy Cook thing, I don't want to get too much into it because what happened, and but now the season's gone, I think you can look back on it like we are, and it is bizarre not to just have him as an option, just have him on the bench. If you don't think he can press like you want him to press, even though we weren't pressing at the time and we haven't pressed since October, then don't press. Just bring him on as an option like we did with Nick Powell.
Yeah.
I think
we didn't press with Nick Powell at all. I forgot about Nick Powell. He's all right heading the ball, but you don't press when Powell plays.
No,
because he can't. He'll probably pull an hamstring and he'll be out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, he's glass, isn't he, Powell? So you can't. But I think that was sort of him admitting that he got the Cook thing wrong with playing Powell as a striker, because one, has he really ever played striker?
I don't think so. I wouldn't really say I know the ins and outs in Nick Powell's career, apart from there's a lot of injuries in there.
Yeah, he's injured too often to see where he plays. But yeah, I think that were a big thing, because Alexander goes on about players playing in, having the right profile to play in any position and being able to adapt and having all these different players who can play for different needs. But all the strikers were pretty similar, really. Jackson quite similar to Mullin, where he's more of a finisher and a lot quicker than Mullin, but that neither of them can hold the ball up and they play for free kicks and give them away more than they win them. And Wheatley, he had all the attributes, but he couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, and he was a bit of a moaner. So he was a bit of a bad egg.
Some people would argue, and as much as I love him, that Andy Cook had a little bit of that about him, but I guess going on the other side of that is, well, he scored a lot of goals. So you can understand why he'd be a bit frustrated if the pass into him wasn't perfect, because, well, if you put the ball into him, you're probably going to score.
Yeah, but he didn't go on social media, did he, and delete all his posts?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Instagram
that
and
was... I just can't believe that the first time he'd not been included in his squad, I think it was Wickham away, I want to say, and then he deletes all of his posts. That's not really the together as one. And I know he's a young player and he's at Man United, and there's obviously going to be some type of ego there, but it's just a bit childish, really, isn't it? I think Stephen Humphries has done that a couple of times where he's deactivated his accounts and all that sort. And it's not like he's 19 anymore. You know, he's in his late 20s.
Yeah, it's like, grow up.
Yeah,
you know, grow up here.
Yeah, you're going to get criticised, especially in Humphries' case, where a lot of the time it looks like you're not working hard. You are going to get criticised.
Yeah, and considering some of the stuff he's posted on social media as well, you've got to be prepared to get a bit of backlash if someone doesn't agree with you.
Yeah, because that I mean, it obviously has its controversies around now. Let's not try and get too political here, but
no.
if you're gonna
do anything about
make
that,
a political stance, you're gonna have to make sure you're performing on the pitch.
Yeah, but whatever you're doing with that, if you're giving an opinion out like we are, someone's going to disagree with you. So you've got to take it on the chin, haven't you?
And some of the abuse that we get, you know, it'd be very easy for us to deactivate.
I spend most nights crying myself, and I've had many thoughts about ending it all. The YouTube channel, that is, which has ended.
It has. Should we talk about that?
If you want.
Do you want to provide the viewers with what's been happening this season, and you might, I'm back,
yeah,
and then you go for 6 months.
Yeah, I do I'm back, and then I'm not back at all. I'm just back.
There will be some people out there that think you're dead. Let's move on then, because we spoke a lot about there, unless you got anything else to add. One thing I finally would say, I would rather have one Andy Cook than Ethan Wheatley and Paul Mullin. If it's an option of one or the other, maybe I'm looking at nostalgia because I love Andy Cook, but I think the whole notion of, Cook doesn't press and all that stuff, I think it's nonsense. I think technically when the ball's at his feet, he's not the greatest footballer in the world, but in terms of heading the ball, which is what our game is based on, getting crosses into the striker, and work rate for the team, great character, I think he ticks all the boxes, whereas you look at Wheatley and Mullin, not a single goal between them, a couple of starts between them really, but no real hard work, no determination, didn't get what it meant to be a Bradford City player. And I don't want this to turn into the Andy Cook show, but I just look back on that and I think that was where we got it horribly wrong.
Yeah, he wasn't quick Cook, but he couldn't question his work ethic. Quite similar to Anson. He got a bit of stick for it, but he was always running, he was always battling, he was always chasing, whereas too often I saw too many players in that position who, when they lost an header, and didn't even challenge for that header a lot of the time, they'd just put their heads down and sulk. And then Andy Cook did that when it wasn't going well. But let's be honest, it was going well a lot for Andy Cook, wasn't it?
So the season ends then. We finish 4th in the table on 77 points. We were 14 points in the end behind second place Cardiff, but we did finish the season above a lot of teams who had bigger budgets than us, like Bolton Wanderers, Luton Town, Plymouth Argyle, Huddersfield Town, Wycombe Wanderers, Reading FC, a lot of teams that have spent numerous years at League One level, especially Huddersfield Town. What were your overall thoughts on the season and just general thoughts on finishing 4th in League One for our first year back at England's 3rd tier?
Unbelievable. I mean, something that's unbelievable is something that you can't believe. And, would you agree with that?
I mean, that is a good definition of unbelievable.
Yeah, something that you can't believe. And to back that up, that statement, because to say something's unbelievable, a lot of people go, yeah, but when we did this video at the beginning, if you do remember, we said our expectation was to stay up.
I would have genuinely been delighted with finishing 5th bottom.
Yeah.
Where Leighton Orient finished, if we'd have finished there at the start of the season, well, not at the start, at the start of the season, if we had have finished there, I'd have been very happy with that.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't want to be back in the hellhole that is League Two.
Never.
And you look at League Two next season, goodness me, it's the most League Two of all League Twos.
It's very grim, and that's not just because Grimsby are in it. It was great. There's so many good memories, so many good moments, and so many good performances. Of course, but there were some good away games as well. Like we said with Cardiff, like we said with Stockport, we had 2 good Carabao Cup games. Not FA Cup, got carried away because first round again, wasn't it?
Yeah, again. We don't do very well in the FA Cup under Alexander, do we?
We don't. Decent in Carabao.
Normally in the EFL Trophy, I know we got round of 32 this time round.
Yeah, and who did we lose to?
Bolton.
Bolton?
Wait,
actually?
Yeah, Carswell did 3-0.
Well, forget I even mentioned that. But really, Bolton?
Yeah, they beat us 3-0 at their place.
No.
It was, because Lapsey played right wing back. I'm pretty sure Neil Byrne started.
No, I mean League Cup.
Oh, League Cup, we lost to Newcastle.
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah, obviously, because I was going to mention that next, that we had Newcastle, which were, a great thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I did miss Andy Cook's goal.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you?
Well, they went to clear the ball.
Oh, you missed filming it?
Yeah, yeah.
I was going to say, I was stood next to you.
I've gone to delete the clip, and by the time I've looked up, the ball's in the back of the net.
That's just
his last ever goal for the club. I missed it. I never miss goals. Unless my camera malfunctions.
You missed Sarsevic's Stockport.
Moving on then to the final couple of points to speak about. Obviously finishing fourth in the table means we are playing in the playoffs. We're playing against Bolton Wanderers. On paper, one of the teams that you probably don't want to play in the playoffs, especially over two legs. But what were your thoughts heading into the playoff matches, and did the full-time result over the two legs surprise you at all?
Not particular. I wasn't nervous, to be fair. I was obviously when we were about to kick off at home more than away, because I wasn't expecting anything away. If we could have nicked a point, I were happy. But I even said I were happy if we lost by one, if it meant that we're still in the game going at Valley Parade. And leading up to it, I wasn't really nervous because I didn't expect anything like we didn't for the season. We weren't nervous for the season, so I wasn't expecting anything. So it was more hope and can we go out with pride? And I think we did that, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, Bolton were always going to be incredibly tough. You look at the talent that's in their squad. They've got numerous players that would be very comfortable in playing in the Championship. The money they've spent on that squad, they've spent numerous £1 million in transfer fees over the last couple of years. They've been in this division for 5 years, and now obviously we don't know what's going to happen at Wembley between them and Stockport. But I really don't think that we disgrace ourselves, which certainly could have happened. You look at the disparity in the two squads, and we had some good chances. You think about that first leg, the two that fell to Sarcevic, Jackson's one-on-one, which could have been a penalty, the Nick Powell incident, and I don't know if you've seen that, where he plays advantage for a penalty. I'm still not over that. Bolton did deserve to go to Wembley, absolutely. They were better than us over the two legs. I have no complaints with that. But the referee played advantage for a penalty.
Yeah.
I can't understand the logic behind it. I mean, I didn't actually see the incident at the time, but obviously seeing all the replays and stuff, Osei Tutu he's tickling his leg.
Yeah.
He is.
That's assault.
It is. If I start tickling your leg, there's gonna be trouble. So how did the referee wave advantage for it?
I don't know. It's beyond me. I don't want to talk about referees because they ruin it, don't they?
Oh, when Sheehan rugby tackled Jackson and he went, yeah, play on.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think that was a penalty.
Well, it can't be. It's outside the box.
Oh. All right. Oh, that one.
Yeah, in the first half.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
No, I don't think Jackson's one-on-one were a penalty, but he should have just
shot. Yeah.
Just the keeper left so much room at the near post. But going into the second leg, only 1-0 down, in front of a sold-out Valley
Parade. Should have had a penalty. That was already on ball.
Yeah.
If Celtic have just been given two, why couldn't we have got one?
Well, there's not as corrupt at our level. Allegedly.
No, it's not allegedly.
Well, I'm alleging it. If you want to sue anybody,
I'm not.
This is the man that you can aim it towards.
And I wanted Hearts to win, so there's no Protestants or Catholics agendas, because I don't believe in any God or thing that made us.
Not the Big Bang?
No, just my mum and dad.
So the Big Bang.
That's not nice.
So the second leg then, sold out Valley Parade, 1-0 down. Did you feel like it was a possibility that Bradford City could turn it around?
Yeah.
So the game itself, first half, no shots on target, I don't think. Not that I can remember.
The first half were poor on it.
Metcalf had a volley that were deflected.
Yeah. Jackson had a shot that went to the corner flag.
Yeah.
Nearly knocked out a disabled person.
Yeah.
Thankfully it didn't.
No, but yeah, first half I was disappointed with the first half, especially when we're shooting towards the Kop in that half. To not have a single shot on target or shot of note is very disappointing. Bolton did defend well and they deserve credit for that, but we didn't create anything.
We didn't look like creating not the problem, because they had a master plan of how to defend against us. But then we had the massive surge in the second half when he made the subs and they were really effective.
Well, some of them were.
Who won?
Stephen Humphries.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
Thoughts on his performance?
Just need to get rid of him, don't we?
Do you think he should move on this summer?
Yeah.
I just think...
It's a shame to say it, because I did like him at the start. I thought, and I had his back, I thought this is a player who can impact a game. He's the type of player I want to see, someone who can get you off your seat, someone who wants to have a shot and try things. But as season's gone on, he's got less impactful, he's tried less things, and he's looked like a lazy, moaning prick.
That seems a bit personal. I mean, I don't know you personally, Stephen, so I won't agree with that. But what he shows on the pitch, I think,
Ain't enough.
So no, sometimes for the money that he's probably on, and
it's allegedly that he's on a lot.
Yeah, there's certain rumours that are flying around, which obviously doesn't help. But regardless of whatever money you're on, if you're playing for Bradford City, you've got to graft your bollocks off.
Yeah.
And that is the bare minimum, and that's why George Lapsley, who might lack a little bit of ability at times, but I think Lapsley's a great example. Brad Halliday, these players that might not be world beaters in terms of technical ability, but they don't half graft the bollocks off, and you'll never see a Bradford fan complaining about the effort or anything like that of a Brad Halliday or a George Lapsley. They're exactly what you want to see. And even you look at someone like Anthony Sarsvik, 34, 35 years of age, won however many promotions that he has, you always see him giving it absolutely everything until he's knackered. And obviously in the playoffs he maybe didn't show the quality that we know he can show, but he was one of the few reasons why we were there in the first place.
How annoyed would you be if you're on that pitch and you've got someone who's waving his arms around, not running as much as you are, and you're
who's only just come off the bench?
Yeah, how annoyed would you be?
You'd be fuming.
Yeah. So why does he get away with it?
And I think he gets babied a little bit. That's the sort of impression that I get from, Humphries. I can't remember what game it was, but he came on off the bench and he put a slide tackle in, and it was highlighted by, I think, both Max Power and Graham Alexander in their post-match interviews that, that's the side that we want to see.
Do you know what it is?
That should be the bare minimum.
Do you know what it is? It's when that person gets started a week in it on Friday. Just because he hadn't fallen off his chair.
Eating a rubber.
Yeah, or
he's spot on.
Put glue up his nose.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a perfect example. Stephen Humphries eats rubbers.
Yeah, and sticks glue up his nose.
Poor fella. I don't like it because we've had a great season. I don't like.
Well, yeah, but it's not. I don't care. I see when I do these stuff, I see it that they're not watching.
I don't think Stephen Humphries is watching. I think he's got better things to do.
There shouldn't be. That would be my advice.
Yeah.
Don't watch it because you're just leading yourself into misery and depression. Go and enjoy yourself. You've had a great season.
Unless you're one of the players that we...
No, even if you're Stephen Humphries, you've had a great season. Enjoy it. Have a beer.
As a team, we've had a great season. Humphries did contribute to us getting there.
Well, yeah.
But ultimately, long term, I think looking at next season, I think that money could be better spent elsewhere. Look,
Joe Wright's contributed. Louis Sibley's contributed. I'm not digging you out. I'm just saying you weren't good enough, and I don't like you.
There has been a lot worse players than Stephen Humphries, but I think it's the effort when compared to the money that he's getting paid.
Well, I don't even care about the money because I'm not paying it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
And at least he's having a better life than me.
Oh yeah, much better. I'd rather be in his position. I'd rather be in his position and in the money that he is when people think that he's lazy, and I'd much rather be in that position than where we are.
Yeah, so cheer up.
Yeah, well done, Stephen. You've made it, we haven't.
Yeah. Now I feel really depressed about myself. See, this is what you've done. You've turned it into me now feeling I'm useless and I'm no hope.
Could you do more than Stephen Humphries?
What with?
Well, on the football pitch. The thing is, though, you look at the goal we scored at home to Plymouth, and he takes on 3 players and gets a shot off, and that's what we want to see, along with the hard work and the graft. But he's just such a frustrating player that I just don't think that...
It's his greediness as well. He's more greedy than Agate.
Yeah. Sorry,
Anne. So that's another complaint.
She's going to be watching, isn't she?
Yeah.
Anne's at home now, doing the little chase quizzes at home, watching, I don't know, the Cinnamon. He's up and she's in background, and you've just had another goer. It could be worse. It could be the Tyler Smith comment post Grimsby away 2024.
I still get told about that.
That was the worst I think we've ever had.
I know. It were good though. We're good.
He should feel better about himself, Stephen Humphries, that you've not.
Yeah, and look at what happened to Tyler Smith. He got Rochdale promoted because of his goal. So, it's not all bad. Just look upwards.
Stephen Humphries played for Rochdale. I feel like he has.
Humphries?
Yeah.
Nah.
I feel like Rochdale's one of the clubs he's played for.
Actually, it might have been.
We have gone on a massive tangent here. Poor Humphries.
Poor Steve. Sorry, Steve.
So, second half, actually, we'll move back onto the second half against Bolton. Jackson has his...
You don't get this on Sky Sports.
No, you don't. Jackson has his disallowed goal, which I think in the end is clearly the right decision. Jackson is offside when the ball is headed, I think, by Nick Powell towards the goal.
Yeah, but that's his laziness. Yeah, Rochdale.
He might Rochdale.
Twice.
It's been there twice.
Yeah.
See?
On loan in 2018, 16 games, 2 goals, according to Wikipedia, which is probably wrong. And 2020-21, lockdown, 29 games, 11 goals.
Well, that's a pretty good return.
Yeah, but wasn't that when they got relegated?
No, they got relegated 22-23.
Yeah. We're not back to back.
I don't think so, no. Bolton's goal, counter-attack. We've obviously gone to the back four. We've gone all out attack by that point. How do you assess the Bolton Wanderers goal?
I assess it that, yeah, they did get relegated.
I did that.
Yeah, back to back.
Congratulations.
So he scored 11 goals in a relegated season, so what does that show you?
So Bolton's goal, 68 seconds after our disallowed goal.
I know, I watched it on Twitter the other day, I didn't realise it was that quick, you know. Very sickening. That's what it was. It was sickening, wasn't it?
It felt like we'd gone on such a high for a brief moment, that were taken away from you, and then we got sucker punched by what is ultimately an error by Aidan Baldwin, who's been excellent for us this season, but I think there's no two ways about it. He has to deal with that better than what he does. He's got an hole in his foot.
Yeah, a bit like you.
Yeah.
I had a hole in my heart, Aidan.
Good finish, to be fair.
It was. I think Walker could have done better. A lot of pace
Honestly, by Sam Walker's standards this season, I don't look at him and think that we can't blame that goal on Sam Walker. Come on. As much as I'm not a fan, I don't think he's been great this season.
I know, but that's like saying, well, because the chef keeps undercooking mistake, you know, because he's made a microwave cheese that's not gone right. Not microwave cheese, what is it? It's not cheese.
Cheese?
No, what is it?
Just put a block of cheese in microwave.
No, it's something macaroni.
Macaroni cheese.
Yeah.
Anyway, the goal. Any more comments to add about the Bolton goal?
No, I don't want to talk about it.
All right.
Just a dagger in the heart.
And then at that point, the game's done, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I knew the game was done when Power's shot was saved. I mean, that was an unbelievable save.
It was a good
A
save.
fingertip. That's when you know that your luck's not on your side. We had a few other half chances as well. A few free kicks that didn't go away, and just little things, you know, like you know, when a throw-in goes out of play and it's just come off you and it's ricocheted out. You know, it was just that type of.
It just didn't fall for us, did it? We had no break of luck across the two legs, and Bolton probably earned their luck with the way that they played. Like they were so defensively strong, even though they lost their captain, but just before half time, like it was just they're just a better side. That's why I don't come away from the playoffs thinking I'm gutted about that, because when we came away from Carlisle, I felt like that was our chance. And that was it, and we blew it. And next season, there's a big hangover from that. Even on the opening day, when we lost 1-0 away at Crawley, on my birthday, that was, and the motorway were closed on the way back, so we didn't get back until very late. That felt like there was a big hangover that season. Hughes got sacked after 10 games. I don't feel like there's going to be a hangover at all. I think that was the end of a chapter, but the book has still got many more to go under Graham Alexander.
I hope it has.
I think he's such a good gaffer. I love Alex. I think he's our best gaffer that I've seen.
I'd die for him. I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't.
No.
I like him, but not that much.
No, I wouldn't. I'd do his shopping for him.
Yeah, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
To do your shopping.
Yeah.
I won't do Humphrey's shopping.
I'd do his garden. I'd do Humphrey's shopping.
Would you?
Yeah, if you give me a bit of his wage.
I'm sure he could afford it.
Yeah. Give me 10 quid a week, Steve. I won't criticise you again. Don't really work for me anymore because I'm semi-retired. So it might just be.
You could tweet about him though.
Yeah, I don't do that though. I don't like tweeting and Facebooking and Instagramming. I
do. I've got a lot to say.
Yeah.
And it normally ends up with me getting a lot of abuse back.
In the end, deserved.
Yeah, you know what, yeah. I'm happy to agree with
you
that.
Like a rat that keeps running into a trap.
Yeah.
Why?
I like the cheese. The microwave cheese.
we can all tell that. Just look at the camera. You can see who's sticking out more.
So final few things to speak about then for today's video. Can you give me one word to describe the entire season? I would go with...
unbelievable.
I'll go brilliant. It was a brilliant season. It wasn't unbelievable because we didn't get promoted. That's why I was to say, if you were to rate the season out of 10, what would you give it? I'd go 9. Because you can't ask for much more apart from the promotion to go with it. Or would you disagree?
I was going to say 8.
An 8, yeah?
But I'm happy to go 9. Because
if you'd have been happy with 5th bottom.
It is harsh. 9.
And we don't do 0.5s around here. Well, if you enjoy this setup.
This man.
Yeah, if you enjoy this man right here.
Yeah.
Then let us know in the comments. But briefly looking towards next season, what do you think would be a good season for Bradford City and what do you think would be a bad season?
Playoff push, relegation.
I think I'd be happy with mid-table next season. You know, just a season of stability.
It's going to be harder.
But yeah, definitely. You look at the clubs that are coming down. Goodness me, bloody Oxford are going to be well prepared.
Oxford will win it.
Leicester, big club. Sheffield Wednesday, big club.
Teams coming up.
And even
if Salford and MK Dons come up, they'll be at the top end.
you look at the momentum that Luton and Plymouth have ended the season with as well. There's going to be a lot of teams in and around there. You think Huddersfield, Mansfield could kick on as well. I like Mansfield.
Yeah.
And even some of the underachievers this season, like your Orients and stuff,
Blackpool.
they'll be better. Blackpool, Wigan.
I'm worried.
Yeah. I think I'd be happy with mid-table next season because I think there's always a 4 or 5 year plan to get out of a division. And you think, stay up, mid-table, playoff push, really challenge promotion, like what Lincoln have done.
Yeah, that's perfect.
They are the blueprint. Experience in the back line, experienced midfielder with a lot of quality and creativity, goals in the final third.
Charlton last year, to what they've gone and done.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money though in the summer.
Yeah.
Which was the concern for me. If we got up into the Championship, I think we'd have come straight back down. Because there's very few players in our squad that are actually good enough for the Championship, and we don't have 10 million to spend.
No, nowhere near. Been a good ride, but
I've enjoyed this. I've really enjoyed this season. I think we played 61 games competitively. Yeah, I think I went to 56 of them, 57, something like that. You went to about what, 10?
Oh yeah. No, I only missed 4 games.
In all competitions.
No. I think I only missed 4 away games through choice. No, that's not right. I missed 2 through choice. Leighton Orient and
yeah, grounds that I just never plan on going back to next season. Orient, expensive in London, been there before.
I need to go because I haven't been.
Wimbledon, expensive. London, been there before.
Do you know how much a pint weigh in Wimbledon?
I'll go probably like £7.
£9.
£9. As a non-pint drinker, that seems a lot.
I refused. I didn't get one.
I don't blame you. It's ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
Starmer's Britain, that is. To counteract some of the negatives that we've had, you look at some of the great players we've had this season. Aidan Baldwin being fantastic, especially where you look at where he was.
George Lapsley.
At the end of Lapsley's end of the season, well, Tyreek Wright, Bobby Point and Anthony Sarcevic. Will Swan started the season very well. If it weren't for injuries, he'd have won the Golden Boot.
No.
Will Swan hasn't completed the 90 minutes since Stevenage away.
Yeah.
He wins the Golden Boot if he stays fit all season.
I don't think so.
He's so good.
He was, but I don't know why he didn't stick with him.
Because Humphries. It's all about Humphries, isn't it?
Mm.
All about the money, money, money. We don't even need your money, money, money. Any final thoughts then before we end the video? Because we've got another one to record and not that long to do it in.
No.
Alright, thank you all very much for watching. I think we're probably at just over an hour, to be honest with you. So, really appreciate it. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Let us know down below your best, worst, favourite, all that sort of stuff, moments down in the comment section down below. How would you sum up the season on the whole? Your one word to describe the season, your rating the season out of 10. There's no point checking Corbyn's channel out because it's dead.
It is.
It is dead.
It is.
Like Paul Mullen's career at Bradford City, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably going to be in League 2 next season, isn't he?
Yeah.
Poor fella. Well, thank you for watching. Hopefully you've all enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you all very soon for another video, which we're looking forward to filming right now.
Ciao.